is Clara Towson, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca George, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom. Yeah.
My name is Zainab Sammaz, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paolini, and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one time.
Ready? Play.
Well, hello there, and welcome to WTA Weekly. And I am very pleased to be joined by a fantastic analyst of the game, the one, the only valued member of the, not the only valued member of the talking team, but he is a valued member. It's Van Shivani. One of us got something very deep trouble there.
I appreciate it, but I think we have some other really good analysts as well, so that's good.
Yeah, we do have some good analysts, and but you were up there as well. Hello, Jake. Hello, Schwarner, in the live chat for the live broadcast of this. Just a reminder for anyone who might be watching this back, or more importantly, listening to this back on Amazon, Apple, or Spotify podcasts. This does go out live on YouTube, so we may refer to comments in the chat, and we will be, and so we may refer to that, but we'll try and keep this chat as easy as possible for you to follow if you are listening back. So I guess let's launch into some tennis, shall we, Vanch? And I challenge you. No, I don't think it's going to happen. You also thrashed me very easily. But someone who was not thrashed easily, you could definitely say the final was not a thrashing. It was one of the closest matches of the year so far. And that was the Berlin final, where maybe out of nowhere, to a certain extent, Jessica Pegula is now a WTA, has won a WTA title after struggling for the early part of the season.
Yeah, I think coming into this week, I was looking at Jessica Pegula to have a really good week, because I think that would be really helpful for her going into Wimbledon, especially when I look back at last year's Wimbledon. She's one of the players that came so close. Like, she had a break point for 5-1 in that third set against Vondrousova, and if she manages to win that match, we could be talking about her as a potential maybe player that could have gotten all the way and lifted the title. But I definitely see her grass court game. I rate her grass court game pretty high, because I look at her strengths and what she does on a tennis court, which is she keeps the ball really, really low. She hits super flat. She returns really well. She has this really good block return, chip return, but she can also just crush second serve returns. And also just like, she's underrated at the net. I feel like she's in this final though was all about grit, because I don't think at any point in time she really played like her very best tennis. But she was down 4-1 in that third set against Kalinskaya. She saved those 5 match points, all on her serve, 4 at 4-5, and then 1 at 5-6, and then was down a mini break in the tie break as well, and then came through that. And ultimately, I just think she was a little bit more solid, a bit more consistent. She ended up getting some cheap points on her serve as well, which really helped down the stretch, ease the nerves. And like, there were some doubts coming into this week because of, like you said, she missed the entire clay swing. She was kind of due for like a kind of a big run. But I think I definitely think she has to be one of the players we have to be talking about as contending for the title, along with the top 4 and Ons, having been to the final twice. But yeah, and then I was also impressed by the semifinal against Coco. I think she actually played a higher level for sure in that match, and that was pretty high quality of both sets. Especially yesterday, I felt like the second set was really good stuff from both of them. And then, so I guess good mental composure to come back today after the rain delay and then win 4 of the next 5 points pretty routinely, and then come through a final like this. I think it bodes well for her.
It does indeed. I mean, I have to say, when I was constructing the first part of the power rankings, I was looking at the spreadsheet. I was going, why is Pegula tracking so highly? She's barely done anything. Okay, she got to the quarterfinals of which 1,000 was it? Miami or Dubai?
Yeah, Miami.
Miami. It was Miami. She also played Miami.
I was there. Yeah.
Yeah, so she got to the quarterfinals in Miami. That was probably her other notable result from the season so far. But then I was looking at it going, she quarterfinals at Wimbledon last year where she was super close, and suddenly it was like, oh, okay, it's all the grass stuff that's kind of from last year that's keeping her pushed up here. And I think, yeah, maybe we do we do underrate her grass court game a bit. But I guess my overall question for this is, like, given you were talking about the level that Pegula's had, and like, you know, she played really well against Coco. She obviously won against Kalinskaya in the final, kind of going almost back to back matches, even though she only played a few points in the second set tiebreak.
Yeah.
Is it too soon to say that Jessica Pegula is now back?
I think she's probably back, to be honest. Like, you know, she had a long time off, and I feel like her injury at least allowed her to train for 2 or 3 weeks before the grass because she was out for so long. So I think that was a smart move by her to not try to come back on the clay where she isn't as comfortable, and she was more likely to take earlier round losses, but then come back on the grass. She played last week as well, won one match, and then lost a really tight one against Gulfi. So I think you know, I do really think I don't think it takes her that much time, especially considering she knows what she's so good at in terms of her skill set, and it works against most players. So now I said she's one of the contenders. I don't know where I would probably rank her, maybe 5th or 6th if I were to actually power rank them. But like, you know, still, like, for me, if I definitely think she can get back into another quarterfinal, and then it just depends on who she plays. But I do think, I do still like sort of put her up there as one of the candidates that could be lifting the trophy at the end.
I think, she's put herself in the mix there. I think she's kind of bought herself a place back onto the WTA power ranking. Where exactly she's going to end up, not sure. But even with the Berlin title, like, the Berlin champion has reached the 4th round of Wimbledon at least in the last 3 years the event has happened. So that's a good sign for her. Those being Samsonova, Shabbat, and Kvitova. I think she's now kind of thrown her hat back in the ring, and she kind of refused to lose today in a way that she hasn't been doing. She was like cracking a little bit in some of these more high pressure moments a lot earlier part of the season. But, you know, if you go back and listen to the commentary that Kira and Gokelp did, like, she was super solid on every single match point she had to face. She was either serving her way out of it, or she locked down, refused to miss in the rally. So I don't know if that's something that you would have observed as well.
Yeah, I think I particularly was impressed by the 4th match point that she saved, because she was stretched out for like this forehand, like way outside the court, and then she scrambles back, and then they trade backhands for a while, and then she takes a little bit of a risk on the final shot, and she goes for a backhand down the line, but it's hit plenty of margin, enough depth to where, like, you know, Kalinskaya couldn't get it back into play, and it was just such a good, like, solid match point save where it wasn't the serve that got her out of trouble. It was just like her ability to stay so solid, move side to side, like just extract an error in a really big point. And I thought that was maybe the most impressive one. I was also impressed by, like, the way she played the tiebreak as well. When she was down a mini break, she really kind of locked down in a way that, like, she just refused to make any errors whatsoever. She asked Kalinskaya the right questions over and over again. And this is like a player who normally doesn't beat herself in big moments. So she tends to, you know, usually what happens is she plays a player who sometimes can maybe just overpower her, like at the US Open when she played against Keys. And then, you know, that's a match where maybe if the opponent gets really red hot and sustain it, but you have to be able to sustain it for a pretty long time against her. Otherwise she's gonna, you know, she finds ways to hurt you, either with her consistency or, you know, like what she does so well is she takes big serves, she blocks them with a really good chip return, and she brings people into the front part of the court where they're not as comfortable finishing. And then usually she has a lot of options, and she can weave her web from there, or like it just stays really low, her ball, so it's pretty hard to attack because she hits so flat.
Yeah, and these are all strengths that we've always known Pegula has, right?
Yeah, these probably don't get talked about as much because it's not like supremely really big hitting or like touch like an Ons Jabeur or something like that. But it's just really like sort of steady, solid, metronomic. But in a way, it's very smart the way she plays, because normally you think like, okay, a player who hits that flat, pretty low net clearance, she's probably going to make a lot of unforced errors. But actually, she's pretty error free on all of the big points, and particularly against players that don't really have the weapons to hit her off the court. That's where I feel like she's pretty tough.
I feel like if you were coaching a young junior of male or female, like, you would show them video footage of her matches, right? The good ones.
Yeah, I would. It's especially like some of these grittier performances. Like there was one match she played against Anisimova in Charleston, which really impressed me as well. And then there have been some matches like that where it's just been really scrappy, like kind of not really finding her best tennis, but she just has that grit, which is like kind of something she can fall back on when a player is about to close against her. She's basically really hard to close against unless you're like you have that top level that can just overwhelm anybody.
Unless you're Swiatek or Sabalenka or Rybakina.
Yeah, one of those.
Yeah, just those players.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Kalinskaya right now? Because obviously this is now the second final that she's lost this year. She's obviously yet to win a WTA title, and this is the second final that she's lost where she's break up in the deciding set. She definitely got even closer this time. Is there any scar tissue starting to form, or do you think this is a completely different kind of loss, the one that she suffered in Dubai?
Yeah, it's interesting. The one in Dubai, I feel like she fell apart a little bit quicker than today, because today, she still held after the 4 match points that Pegula saved in that game. She still had a few chances. She was up a mini break in the tie break, but in general, yeah, it is a little bit of when you lose 2 finals like that, pretty big in that same spot. Obviously, you're going to think about it the next time you're in one. But I also think she's raised her overall level, where I wouldn't be surprised if she just this isn't really a player who I think is going to go her whole career without winning a title. It doesn't feel like that, at least. I feel like she's going to be back in more positions, either at 500s or 250s, especially because she is just a player who I think always had this potential, but injuries usually, kept her away from reaching heights. And she does have a pretty good record against top players as well. So I'd be also confident that she could knock out 1 or 2 en route to another similar type of situation. And then it's just a matter of if she's able to capitalize. I thought she was rushing a little bit on some of the big points, perhaps just losing her patience a little bit, like maybe just pulling the trigger a little bit too soon. But that is also kind of also how she plays sometimes. So it's just like finding that right balance. But yeah, for the most part, I think it was okay. Like it wasn't quite the same as Dubai for me. I feel like Dubai was maybe definitely something that she didn't handle it quite as well. Like I remember Paulini just racing through the last 4 games here, whereas this one I give her a little bit more credit. But yeah.
Yes. Well, look, at the end of the day, she didn't do a lot. She didn't do a lot wrong. You're right. I was impressed by the way she served out 5-5, having missed all those match points. She definitely was playing she was definitely the better player at a lot of points during this match. I think I had a comment from the commentary team that they were kind of saying that they didn't have any issues with any of her shot selections during this match. Which was interesting. But so yeah, it was a good match. It was just in the big moments, Pegula said hit through me, and she couldn't.
Yeah, I think especially that 4th match point, she played that really well all throughout. But I just thought Pegula came up with a really good backhand, and then there are others where Pegula came up with a big first serve, or there are other spots like I think maybe in the tiebreak, maybe she made a few too many errors earlier on in rallies, whereas before she was working the point a little bit more. But I also think she's ranked 17 now, so I I don't think it's quite so much the scar tissue of, let's say, someone like a Tomljanovic who's been in 5 finals already and is like 31. I think like for her, like I would be feeling good that if she remains healthy, she can pick up a title.
Yeah, and it's health that's holding her back. This is like the best period of health she's had in her career right now, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
She did have a little bit of a back problem as well in the first set, so that was and then she just raced through the tiebreak, so she just got on a roll there and won 7 points in a row, and just but like when she hits that top gear, it is still pretty deadly, especially on a fast court, because she also hits super flat. She's got a big serve as well. She's like one of those players that can just light fire and keep it going, but then she is also a little bit streaky sometimes. So I do kind of wonder like where she goes from here, and how it's going to be interesting to really follow her career, because she hasn't been healthy for a long enough time. So I didn't really have a great read on her until, I would say, like from basically Dubai onwards.
Interesting. Yeah, I was in a similar position. Like there were some people like, during Dubai was like, oh, she's finally fulfilling her potential. And we're starting to see glimpses of it during the Australian Open quarterfinals run as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think if this is a sustained good period for her, then she's going to keep climbing up. And if she'd won the title today, she would have been the top 6. She would have been seeded 16th for Wimbledon. Whereas now she's going to be 17th. And that does make a difference, obviously, with draws and whatnot. I mean, I have to say, her run this week, it was one of those runs where I was like, oh, she's doing pretty well, because she was in a bit of a rut over the clay season. And then like, oh, she's retired against Vondrousova. Oh, the basing half points. Oh, Vondrousova retired. Oh, Sabalenka's retired. Okay. Oh, and she's completely outplaying Sabalenka. Who, by the way, also, I know Sabalenka was Azarenka, she completely outplayed. She was also completely outplaying Sabalenka. I know Sabalenka then retired, but there was an element where like Kalinskaya seemed to be also. I thought it was clear that Kalinskaya was carrying a lot of momentum then into the Azarenka match, and if anything, apart from how the final ended, this was a confidence building run for her.
Yeah, I think so. Hopefully she can carry it into Wimbledon, and then we can see her play one of the top players again, and then she can have another bite at the apple.
Just one more word on the final before we move on to other stories from Berlin. We have to say, are we at the point? Would we say that, given the nature of the final, it was a bit back and forth, there were saved championship points, is this going to go down as one of the most exciting matches of the year? Now, we're going to caveat that, because obviously it's difficult, because we are comparing to the 2 eager clay matches from Madrid and Roland Garros. They are a class of their own. They're going to be the top. They're probably going to be in the top 2 at the end of the year, unless something else comes along. So we're not saying it. I'm not saying any matches I kind of flag up is going to be in that category. But is this in kind of the worth mentioning as the when we're trying to make the wider list?
Maybe it depends on if we have other matches like in the majors or 1000s, because those kind of take more of the narrative space. But I would say in terms of the 500 matches that we've had this year, like I think this is one of the most memorable ones. In terms of like it was in a final.
I think it was certainly the best match of the week.
Quality. But I wouldn't put it in a top 5 like match, even this season, because like you said, the 2 Iga matches, the Rybakina Sabalenka match, like there's like other matches, especially in the Madrid tournament, and probably
we were spoiled at Madrid and RG and Stuttgart, right?
Yeah, but in terms of like when I'm looking back at like the finals, 500 level and above, like I will remember this one still.
I mean, actually, that's an interesting point, because we're talking about potentially having obviously top 5 matches of the year from ATP WTA. We are halfway through the year. Apart from Swiatek Sabalenka Madrid and Swiatek Osaka Roland Garros. They're probably going to be in the top 5. What are there any other matches that kind of come to mind from the year so far that you want to throw into the ring now?
I really enjoyed Sakari versus Rybakina in Miami. I thought that was a really good match in the quarters. I don't know if other people thought that too, but I think it was pretty high level.
I'm making a note to check that one out again because I can't remember it.
What other ones? I want to think maybe something from Collins. Yeah, there was that Collins versus Danilovic match in Madrid. That was quite good.
And again at Roland Garros.
Yeah, at Roland Garros as well. I mean, there've been others. Like there was a 500 semi in Dubai that I really enjoyed with Kazakina.
Kazakina had Maya. No, was that Dubai?
Kazakina had
I think it was Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, Abu Dhabi semis.
Yeah, like, I remember. I think James also was big on that match. I watched it as well. I thought it was pretty good quality.
Yeah, I thought so too. And then, so I'd probably put it in like my top 8. I don't know if it would make the cut for top 5. I'd have to think about it, but yeah.
Well, we're not even at the end of the year yet. But we're at the halfway point. But I wanted to. Okay, maybe this match won't make top 5, but I do think it will probably be on a very long honorable mentions list.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely honorable mention worthy at least. Because like Roland Garros, the main one that really stands out is like Osaka Swiatek. Like apart from that, I don't know if there's really that many other matches that I will really look back at.
Danilovic Vekic got a lot of fuss about that one in round 3. Maybe I would add Goff Shabur and Rybakina Paolini into the mix in the quarters as well.
I think so, but then again, like the quality, especially from
best of Roland Garros, not best of the year.
I don't know if it was really that great, but
this is best of Roland Garros, not best of the year.
Okay, yeah, in Roland Garros, that Rybakina Paolini for sure, probably. Yeah, and then
Goff Shabur. I love that Goff Shabur match.
Andreeva Sabalenka.
That was kind of but also there was a lot of context around Sabalenka not being right.
A lot of the health issues that Sabalenka had were a major part of that match, so probably not.
If Sabalenka wasn't injured, then yes, it would probably be second best match of Roland Garros.
Yeah. But actually, I probably I know this was like a 250 quarterfinal, but still like Osaka and Andreescu.
Yes,
last week.
That was an amazing match.
I still would put that in there. Like, I would definitely, because I thought the quality was pretty high for the most part.
I'm making notes, chat, by the way, like the suggestions from Schwarner that are coming in. I'm making notes of those to go back and see if they're on the list I've made already. There might be a giant spreadsheet coming John's way at the end of the year. Like, here's all.
And then another one, I would say Pegula versus Azarenka in Charleston. That was really good, and actually, so was I really enjoyed like all 3 of Pegula's third set tie breaks that week. There was Pegula versus Kazakina, which she ended up losing in the semis, and then there was Pegula Azarenka in the quarters. There was Pegula Anisimova, I think, early in that tournament too.
The Paris Kalinskaya Dubai final was actually quite good.
Yeah, it was.
Sean, yeah.
That was definitely one I thought about too.
Yeah, I mean that's one that's got to be up there. I remember again there was a lot of. I kind of go off when I'm making this list of if I haven't seen the match, how much of a buzz is there on social media, and then also like who do I know who's making a fuss about this match? So if you're making a fuss about the match,
I'd probably shout out the last 2 sets also of Rybakina and Sabalenka Madrid. Not the first set, which was which wasn't very high quality from Sabalenka, but after that I would say
I mean the candidate, one of the candidates for set of the year was Swiatek Rybakina in Doha in the final.
Right, yeah.
For the first set.
Definitely.
I mean the second set was all right, but it became kind of inevitable. We went on a bit of a tangent there, but I thought it'd be a fun. This is what we do. We're fans. I do want to touch on the other big story coming from Berlin, which is the retirements. So in the quarterfinals, three of the quarterfinals ended with a retirement, with Rybakina retiring with some kind of abdominal issue. So Peter in the chat's asking what the retirement's due to. So we've got we have some kind of abdominal sickness issue for Rybakina, a shoulder issue for Sabalenka, and some kind of fever and general sickness for Ons Jabeur that eventually caused. Well, Rybakina only played completed 4 games against Azarenka, 6 games in the Sabalenka against Kalinskaya and Jabeur. Jabeur impressed me the most because she played an hour-long first set with Coco Gauff that ended up with a super tight tiebreak. It was absolutely awesome watch. Because I did that match with Kira. And suddenly Jabeur sits down, having just narrowly lost, looks dizzy and out of it, has doctors taking her blood pressure, and we're like, how on earth did you play that set and played the level that you did in that match? Because I would have thought you would have fallen off a cliff. And
during the actual points, she played really high level, and then in between the points, you could tell that she was kind of struggling a little bit with something, like maybe an illness, something. But really, I have to commend her because that first set was really, really competitive. 68 minutes, super back and forth. She had 3 set points. She saved 8 of them in one game on her serve, and that might have been maybe one of the highest quality sets. It's definitely of the grass season so far. That first set between Gauff and Jabeur, that was a really fun watch. But and then there was also Vondrousova's injury. That was a shame because she just slipped.
Yeah, that was a slip. That was in the last 16.
That was against Kalinskaya, where she was up 5-3 when that happened. So she was serving for the set, and then she falls, and that was a shame because she was playing quite good up until then.
Yeah, and she was kind of showing why, this confidence that she found on grass in the last 12 months compared to the rest of her career.
Yeah, she was 2-8 on the grass coming into Wimbledon last year, and then she made the quarters in Berlin, but then she really just blossomed at Wimbledon, and then
and was looking to blossom again until she fell over. So Sean is telling us that Rybakina was practicing at Wimbledon today, which is interesting. But given obviously, I think my question to you is, the retirements we talked about, how much of an impact on the Wimbledon prospects for these players we've mentioned, Sabalenka, Rybakina, Jabeur, and Vondrousova, how much of an impact will on their Wimbledon prospects will these retirements have?
Hopefully not much. I mean, Rybakina just seems to struggle with illnesses on and off. She maybe has some kind of chronic illness that she isn't talking so much about because, it's a private matter, but it's certainly something that she's been struggling with for over a year. So if she figures out how to manage it, which she has in the past, in some big tournaments, and she's due a big slam run, but I wouldn't count her out of Wimbledon. And then same thing with Sabalenka. It just seemed like a sickness that will probably go away in time. And then same with Jabeur. Vondrousova, I'm not as sure about. Just don't know the extent of how bad that fall was. But you would hope that, since it happened earlier in the week and that she still has a week and a half to 2 weeks before she gets going and plays her first match on Monday in Wimbledon, that she'll be closer to 100% or maybe even 100%. So hopefully that would be the case.
Yeah, and that would be that. I think, that's right. And same sort of thing for Sabalenka and Jabeur. How pessimistic? I mean, at the minute we don't know enough, but I'm assuming we don't need to be that pessimistic about their prospects.
I don't think so. It was probably just a bug and a sickness.
Yeah, would make sense. Someone who managed to avoid all of this bug and sicknesses, Coco Gauff, who got to the semi-finals, and I actually thought looked really good this tournament. It was a narrow straight sets loss to Pegula in the semis. Not bad to eventually lose to the defending champion. But Coco Gauff on grass looking better than expected.
Yeah, I would say she performed about as well as I thought she would this week. I was expecting her to get to the semis, which she ended up doing. And then I thought the match against Pegula was pretty close. I was giving Pegula a slight edge going in, just given their head-to-head history and also just the kind of things that I know Pegula can do on the surface. So she ended up winning that match, but it was really tight all the way through. Coco had her chances. She was up 5-2 in the second set. Pegula played some really good points when she served forward at 5-3. Goff will probably be a little bit disappointed with the 4 of the last 5 points she played today, because certainly that was maybe an opportunity for her to reset. She was already down a mini break, so maybe there wasn't that much she could do anyway. But yeah, overall I thought she played pretty decently, and especially the first round against Alexandrova, that was already really, really tricky. She had lost to her 6-4, 6-0 this time last year, and she looked like a completely different player 1 year later. And she was down, and she actually played really well for her first match on grass against that type of opponent. She hit like 8 aces. Her first serve, her forehand wasn't breaking down as much, for sure. She was, using her skills really well to disrupt Alexandrova's hardline pace. So that was a good watch. And then then she got to the. Then who did she play? Who did Goff play in the quarters again? I'm blanking a little bit.
Yeah, Jabber.
Jabber? Yeah. Oh, yeah, we just talked about that. Yeah. So the first set there, that was a pretty good level. She managed to scrape through that. So overall, I think it was a pretty positive week for her. I am sort of expecting her to get to the quarters or semis again at Wimbledon, because she hasn't been past the 4th round. And we sort of remember her 2019 run at Wimbledon. But since then, she's yet to go past that. So maybe this is the year.
Yeah, and obviously the year she lost to Halep, the first year, she lost to Kerber the second. The last year was Kenin. Who did she lose to in 2022? That's the one I'm blanking on.
2022, did she lose to Kerber? No, that was
No, third round. It was Badosa, wasn't it? Was it Badosa? No, it was Anisimova.
Anisimova in the third round? Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah. I remember she won the first set and then in a tiebreak, and then got rolled over the next 2.
Yeah.
So right. Third round.
It was the third round against Anisimova, and obviously first round against Kenin last year. And the pattern, apart from Anisimova, the pattern I'm seeing from those losses are all players who are very good at redirecting. And maybe on grass, that's something she struggles with a bit, but given her speed and athleticism and like how that's improved, even though at a base level it was already very, very good, it might trouble her less. I don't know, but maybe there's a pattern that I'm trying to spot there.
Yeah, interesting. I hadn't thought of it like that, but I remember. Yeah, you said Halep, Kerber, so like pretty good counterpunchers and good players.
And Kenin can counterpunch for the best of them.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe I'll look out for that when the draw comes out. But I think also her improvement on the first serve, like going after it a bit more, if she's not having those second serve yips anymore, and maybe just this extra week, she needed a good week. Like I actually last year she also did beat Pegula in the quarters of Eastbourne and then lost to Keys in the semis. But that was a week before, and then kind of the Kenin lost that third set probably just lit a fire in her, and then she became a different player during the summer swing, and then carried that momentum through. So I'm kind of hoping that extra experience this week, plus just that she's a more wiser, more hardened player now, like we'll get her through some of those early round hurdles.
Yeah, I'd expect that, because like we talk about Goff, other people have had talk about Goff, and as someone for whom grass is her least favorite surface, and she said that herself in her Berlin press conference. But I don't know, because like if your base level's that good that you're that strong on your least favorite surface, then I mean everyone's got a least favorite surface. Nadal won 2 Wimbledons on what should be his least favorite surface. So at what point does that stop being a factor and you're just good on everything?
Yeah, I don't think she's really a player that's like has a massive difference in her, let's say clay hard or grass, maybe so, but then also the sample size is smaller, and she she did have that great breakout in 2019. She did lose to the eventual semifinalist and champion, in 2021, 2019. So I don't put too much stock in it. Like I think she's good enough that she can be equally as deadly on all the surfaces.
Yeah. Someone else who we are talking about, potential grass court prospect who hasn't played this week, but I thought, given that obviously we mentioned the other three of the top four, we may as well mention Iga Swiatek, who has posted images of herself practicing on grass this week. So obviously, right thing to do. You need to practice. You can't just go into Wimbledon completely cold. But my question is, because this is something that's kind of been holding her back a bit when I'm making power rankings, so I thought I'd ask someone whose opinion I respect. Does Iga Swiatek need matches on grass to have a chance at Wimbledon?
I would say probably not. Maybe that's just because, she got 2 or 3 last year. She played in 2021. She played a warm up in Eastbourne. She didn't play any in 2022, but that's, also the whole streak. I think because she just had such an intense Madrid, Rome, and Roland Garros. She didn't want to come to a warm up tournament and then not feel like she could really give it her all, in that same way. So out of respect, I think she just pulled out. But I think she's been working hard, training, practicing. I'm sure she wants to have a really good Wimbledon. I'm sure she's taking it very, very seriously. And I still just kind of think, Iga Swiatek in the earlier, she could just really use those first couple of rounds, 2, 3, 4 rounds, and just work her way in. Probably like until the second week, and then after that it would get more challenging. But I still do think like she's good enough that she's going to figure it out. If not this year, then next year, most likely, is kind of what I'm thinking in terms of her being like an even bigger title contender than she would now. But I do think, and she's also one of those players that I don't worry too much about when it comes to the surface change back to the Olympics. I think she even said herself that like the fact that grass is in between the clay swings isn't that much of a problem for her. It'll probably be harder if it was the other way around, and like Olympics was on grass and she had to, do it that way. So I think I'm not too worried about her not having a prep. I don't think it really changes the way I look at her chances.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting because it has been affecting how I look at mine. If you look at the history of Wimbledon in the last few years, the only women who've been winning Wimbledon without playing a warm-up tournament, obviously it's been 20 years since someone won a warm-up tournament and then went on to win Wimbledon. But the only women who've won Wimbledon without playing a warm-up tournament are Serena Williams and Ash Barty, both of whom are naturally natural grass court players in that sense. Like Serena at Wimbledon, with Venus. Ash, we were just waiting for the day that she was going to win. But I guess if Iga does kind of go in and wins Wimbledon, suddenly she's in that category, right?
Yeah, like at some point, like you just have to like prioritize something in the schedule, and like I just felt like, yeah, it would have probably been more ideal if she played it this week and she was fully ready to go 100%. But I think she's good enough that she can just play a lot of practice sets, matches, get in the proper shape for the rest of the year, and really kind of just work her way in. The only thing is if she draws like an Osaka in the first round or something like that again, or some really dangerous player, Mukhova maybe, or something like that, I could see that being a little bit more troubling. But then if she draws some players that are like, that she clearly just has more firepower and more can just hit a lot of balls. Like last year she played Sarah Stormo, and me and David always joke every time she plays her, Sarah almost kind of works her way into form by just, with her style, having to hit so many shots to get the ball by her. It's kind of a compliment to SST. But I do think it's a sensible decision overall. Like probably she weighed everything and just thought it's not worth it. If she would play the week before, she'd probably not end up going all the way again. She might pull out like she did last year. So maybe it's just better to get to Wimbledon a little bit earlier and just practice than play the week before.
Okay. So, I guess my last question on Iga before I move on, and before I round off Berlin, would be so on a stream on Friday, John, Mary, and I made kind of tier lists for who we would talk about Wimbledon contenders. And the key question of whether someone was going to be in tier 1 or tier 2 was, would you be surprised if this player won the title? And the players who automatically went to tier 1 were obviously Rybakina and Sabalenka. Mario and I went with we put Iga in our tier 1. We wouldn't be surprised if Iga won Wimbledon. John went with he would. Where do you fall?
Oh yeah, that's easy. I would not be surprised if she won. For sure, she'd be in my tier 1.
Okay. Yeah, I think I don't think anyone could be surprised if Iga wins any Grand Slam, right?
No, not at this point. I think it's just natural to expect progress on the surface, and yeah, I mean, like I said, maybe she still needs it one more year, but she's just such an incredible player that I can't put it past her. Like when you're just that good, I struggle to see a reason why you can't adapt to the grass nowadays.
All right. So one last question about Berlin, because I wanted to get your take on this. So in the last few years, I've mentioned that Berlin's actually tended to be the better guide on who's going to do well at Wimbledon. It used to be Eastbourne, but it seems to have shifted to Berlin. But Ons Jabeur made a very interesting comment in a press conference, which you can go and watch on the channel if you haven't yet, where she said that the ball seems to bounce higher on this surface, maybe even a little slower, but definitely higher than you would normally see on a grass court. What do you make of those comments? And is that something that you've noticed?
Yeah, I've noticed also the German courts. Like I've noticed this in Halle. I was talking to it with Damien. He largely agrees to it. Halle, Berlin, Stuttgart, places like that. Like during the day, it bounces higher, and also it plays a little bit quicker through the surface, and it's like kind of faster than actual Wimbledon, which tends to slow down quite a bit in the second week, especially, and plays more like a hard court when the grass becomes less firm and green and lush. So I think she has a point also, because I feel like I see a lot more players like able to stay lower better. Maybe they have better balance in terms of striking the ball hip level at Wimbledon, because it just stays a lot lower, and then the speed just kind of varies on the rest of the conditions. But I think Ons is right when she says that it's definitely more bouncy here. I noticed Coco was having a lot more success with her looping forehands, particularly in the Jabeur match at times when she was looking to, give Jabeur different looks and mix and use that high loopy forehand to prevent her from getting woven into Ons's webs, where she loves to use the slice and the drop shot and bring players forward. And I think actually it worked a lot more effectively for Coco. And that's probably part of it.
I think, look, let's face it, Jabeur is playing it. We should know, but obviously we've had other players who've made comments about courts before. Daniel Medvedev famously talking about what isn't a hard court. But yeah, I think that's Berlin. I think we've spent about 45 minutes on Berlin. I think it's time to talk about the other WTA tournament that happened, the 250 in Birmingham, which was won by Pegula Putintseva, who obviously went a little bit like she had a fun moment where she was caught on camera singing along to "Oops, I Did It Again" by Britney Spears. That was a fun moment, and it's interesting with Putintseva. She's someone who we know is quite emotionally volatile, but she seemed quite relaxed for her in Birmingham this week.
Yeah, I picked up on that as well. She was like way more even keeled. There was less like shouting and racket throwing, and there was a lot more like focused version of Putintseva, who was like just being super even keeled for her, and she was going through some of her opponents rather easily. Like she beat Kalinina 6-3, 6-0, and like Cocciaretto 6-2, 6-2. Like I was pretty impressed by those score lines, for someone who usually has to scrap through a lot of those wins. Even on clay, which is her best surface, she's often having to fight really, really hard, tooth and nail for wins like that. So to see her like all of a sudden, just serve bigger and like hit, more flattened forehands as opposed to like just, kind of looping in and playing it a little bit more safe. She was like really going after the ball and using her variety very well and serving bigger. And like I think actually she's quietly super confident this year. Like she made round of 16 at Indian Wells, quarters in Miami, quarters in Madrid where she had a match point over Rabakina, and then Rome she loses to Iga in a pretty tight match there, and then pretty tight loss to Badosa in round 2 of Roland Garros. And she's like basically since Indian Wells, she's been playing really well. Like this is maybe the best stretch of her career, like since March.
Yeah, it hasn't gone unnoticed that she seems to have hit a vein of confidence, right? I mean, I noticed Kira put a tweet out because she went to Birmingham as a spectator. And I was asking her, like, what was it that caught her attention? And basically it was, Putintseva was serving so well. She noticed that Putintseva was serving well, hitting a lot of winners. But then the slice was also being used super effectively on the surface. And, she's feeling confident. You would imagine with the variety that she has, like she would be dangerous on grass anyway. But you've got to be looking at, if you've got Putintseva in your draw, you are probably somewhat worried if you're a WTA player right now.
Yeah, I mean, to me, like she played this like some of the points that she was playing. It reminded me of like Kazakina, like earlier when she came on the tour, like 2017, 2018, when she was probably more aggressive than how she plays now. But it's a similar type of thing where like you just constantly mix up strike zones where you hit hard, you hit spinny sometimes, you use slices other times, you're comfortable coming forward. She has a lot of like talented type of point construction, which like on clay I would say she usually needs a lot more time to play that kind of tennis. But when she plays players that I know are not going to overpower her, then she can actually put up a week like this, which is pretty good. Like this has to be one of her best title wins for sure. I think she's won 3 titles. This is probably the most impressive one that I could think of, especially because I expected also the final to be a to go at these 3 sets, because I was really backing Tomjanovic to potentially even win or take it to 3. So that was impressive in the final that she just came out like that and won it 6-1.
Actually, Ashley was asking about Tomjanovic. Ashley in the chat was asking about Tomjanovic and whether she played. And yeah, Tomjanovic was playing super well this week. I was very impressed by the way she came back against Leylah Fernandez, who I thought was playing quite well up until that quarterfinal they had. And we know Ayla is a dangerous grass court player. 2 Wimbledon quarterfinals and lost the eventual champion both times.
Yep.
She was pretty big, and yeah, she did take it to Putintseva in the second set, and could well have taken it to a third. I think I checked the Google score earlier, and Google got very confused and said that she'd won the second set, and they were in some kind of super tie break. But this Google score got very confused with it. But yeah, she did her best to go for it. But another player who's yet to win a WTA title. But I guess my question here is it unexpected that she's back in a final at this point in her comeback?
Yeah, I think she's probably close to being where she was before. Like, I don't know if she's fully 100% back, but I think it's actually pretty impressive that like she's only played like 7 events basically since 2022, and she was ranked 190 before this. I don't know where she is now, but probably pretty close to the top 100, I would think. So that would make it kind of tough for players in her section. I'm gonna see where she's ranked right now. She's 190 before this.
You're doing live ranks?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm just going to look that up because there's no point in both of us looking that up. But Yeah,
135. So
135. Okay.
yeah, final this week, 135. I mean, yeah, like I wouldn't be that surprised if she was contending for the second week, like in the third round or fourth round or something like that. I would be shocked if she got to the quarters again, because I don't know if she's like fully back to that level. But I was impressed with what I saw at times this week for sure.
I think anyone who wants Tomljanovic to succeed is going to be pleased about that, especially since she's got to get that elusive WTA title at some point. It might end up being a Jan-Lennard Struff situation where it just happens like super late. But
yeah, against Layla, I was very impressed how she turned that match around so quickly all of a sudden, because Fernandez was really dominating. Like she was up a set in a break, and she looked.
I thought
really good.
I was watching Fernandez's matches because I usually try and watch Layla's matches, and I thought that was the best I've ever seen her on grass. I thought she was winning Birmingham, albeit I hadn't seen how well Putintseva was doing. But I was like, oh, maybe Layla's gonna grab a 250 title on grass. That would be unexpected. But yeah, Tomljanovic kind of put a stop to that.
Yeah, she suddenly became super aggressive and like started attacking second serve returns, like started serving better. Like just her whole game just came together in that moment, like down a set in a break, and just kind of really was the better player the whole time after that. And it was like she just overpowered Layla basically.
Wow. I think that's all the stories from Birmingham. We're doing quite well here. So we'll do a little bit of a preview of next week's tournaments, which obviously are the immediate Wimbledon warm-up. We'll start with the tournament that's already got underway today, and the tournament that John is traveling to because he will be bringing us coverage on site of Bad Homburg, which is now a WTA 500 event. Obviously upgrade ahead of next year where it will become the only 500. This is the last week. Eastbourne will be a 500. And a bit of a wide open draw here in Bad Homburg. Some big players, but hard to call which way this one's going to go.
Yeah, I have no clue really who's winning this one. It's a lot of players kind of in a similar boat. And there's no really like standout favorite for me, you know? Like Samsonova could just as easily go lose in the first round or win the whole thing. Like there is really no in between kind of with her, given how streaky she is. And then Alexandrova, Vekic are already going to be playing each other in round of 16, which is like, like if they were on other halves of the draw, that could even be the final. But they're playing each other so early in the tournament. And then I guess the player I'm most fascinated by in this whole draw is probably Bianca Andreescu still, because she got to the final there and Tagenbosch, and then competed pretty well despite that injury. And then I'd be curious to see like just how much she's willing to push it this week, especially with Wimbledon the week after, and also her history of injuries. If she gets embroiled in like 2 or 3 setters, will she just withdraw, or will she just keep going? Will she try to win a title the week before? I think she made the final here 2 years ago, right, and lost to Garcia.
Yeah,
pretty good 3-set match where she was so close to winning another title, and she hasn't won one since the US Open. But I kind of wonder, because I think she's more looking towards the hardcourt swing, but she knows that grass is also a really good surface for her. She used to like clay more, but I think now she loves grass.
She's definitely been loving grass. Like, look at her last couple of like third round of Wimbledon, pushed Chabert, final, could have won the title in Scottenbosch. She's going to be feeling pretty good about playing in a place where she's reached the final before.
Yeah, she's probably the most fascinating player in this. Apart from that, who else is in this? Like, I mean, Kerber's playing Sakari as a 1 seed.
No, that's
quite.
How do you play Sakari?
Sakari is the number 1 seed, right?
Sakari's number 1 seed, but then she's playing Cocciaretto in round 1, I think.
Yeah, and then the winner of that plays Badosa. But I was looking at Andreeva, but she just lost today, actually.
Yes, that was the big result from today. Is Diana Yastrzemska coming from a set down to beat Andreeva, which is not the grass court warm up that Miller wanted.
Yeah, I guess another really good first round match is Stearns against Putintseva.
There's another round 1 match as well. Svitolina Wozniacki.
Yep, the battle of the moms, which gets mentioned a lot on
Yes, it
Berlin
mentions a lot.
Birmingham.
Yes.
Which, yeah. I guess, I don't know. Do you have any predictions about who's going to win this week? Because I really don't have any confidence in anybody.
Yeah, it was really hard. I did have Andreescu doing quite well, maybe optimistically.
Yeah.
But who did I go for? Because I usually do the TNS bracket. Let me have a look and see who I went with. Because like literally, yeah, like there's a list of names in there who are all very good, but also it's kind of really hard to say, well, who's in form, who's good around a gas. Because like Cotteretto, I'm not even sure will play because she was getting strapped up in that Birmingham semi-final. So I was wondering whether she'd pull out. Kalinskaya's playing. Is she going to play so soon after reaching the Berlin final? Does she feel the need to do that? Those are kind of the key questions.
Maybe Noshkova is a good
Noshkova,
pick to
yeah.
go far. I don't really know how much of her I've actually seen on the grass. She's like just one match, but
oh yeah, no, I've got okay. My final in my bracket, because at one point I was just like, yeah, sure, that's plausible. Peyton Stearns against Linda Noshkova.
Okay, that would be pretty cool. I'd also like to see Diane Perry do well. She's someone I really enjoyed watching on the grass last week, and just her game in general is very visually appealing.
Yeah, same for me. She's one of my favorite players to watch on the WTA right now. Perry.
Yeah. So yeah, like literally any one of these players could win this thing, and it wouldn't be that surprising.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I think we're not necessarily. To be honest, I'm looking to see who reaches the quarterfinals, not who wins the tournament. I think the quarterfinals is going to be more indicative of who's getting that nice bit of grass court momentum just before Wimbledon.
Yeah,
I could see a scenario where Peyton Stearns storms her way to the title if everyone else isn't quite in top gear and she decides to really go for it.
Yeah, I could see that actually. She did that. She already won a title the week before RG, right?
Yeah.
And then took that into the third round there. So, yeah, maybe. I mean, her forehand is so big on this surface as well. It's going to do quite a lot of damage. It did already last year. So,
yeah, good opportunities there, as there are also in Eastbourne, which is also underway. Coming up underway this week, and obviously that's the traditional Wimbledon warm-up over the years. Last year, as I said earlier, the 500. So I guess again, this one's also super wide open, but you've got some bigger names in this field because you've got Rybakina, who looks like she's playing. Maybe she didn't feel like she had enough of a warm-up in Berlin. Yes, I know she pre-entered, but she could have pulled out. You've also got Collins and Keys getting their grass court warm-ups underway here, and I think those are going to be the players to watch.
Yeah, I'm also looking at Emma Raducanu. I know she plays Sloane Stephens in the first round, but I'm expecting Pegula to pull out after a week, after what she had this week. So I wonder if she will, or she'll go ahead and play. Maybe she'll play a match or two and then pull out. That's also possible.
Like Emma's playing Stephens in round one.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe, but look. There's the optimistic Brit in me that would be super keen on Emma Raducanu doing really, really well in Eastbourne, but I don't want her to cut herself too much by winning the thing.
But yeah, no, I probably wouldn't predict her to win, but I think she can beat Stephens.
I think so too. Yeah.
I think she can beat Stephens and maybe win another match after that. I don't know, like beyond the quarters, I'm not too sure, but I could see her get to the quarters.
How much are you keeping an eye on Collins and Keys this tournament?
Yeah, Collins for sure, because I haven't seen her since the second round loss at Roland Garros, so that's going to be interesting to watch. Then there's other players I'm keeping an eye on, like well, obviously Rybakina, obviously Krejcikova Fernandez is the first round. Wow. Okay, I just seen that.
Wow.
That's wild.
The the Birmingham semi-final we never got.
I know. Ostapenko is like notorious for winning this tournament and then like getting to the final or winning 2021 and 2022.
But she's not really in form right now. I mean, she crashed out of round one. Okay, Cocciaretta was playing so well this week in Birmingham, and she was playing in Birmingham. I'm so used to saying Berlin, but also, yeah, Ostapenko's just been so patchy even for her recently.
Yeah, the last good result I think was Rome. She got to the quarters and lost to Sabalenka. But
she likes Eastbourne, so
okay, I'll tell you the player that I'm most looking forward to watching is Mukova, just because I just love her tennis. So it's great news for the WTA that she's back.
Yes, and she's healthy. Yeah, because let's face it, she's super competitive, and yeah, I would love to see her playing well. To be honest, because
Nessian in the first round, that's going to be really good. Actually,
that's a tough
match. Yeah,
tough first match back.
Yeah. Ooh, and then potentially Pavlyuchenkova the net. Yeah, I just hope she comes through this healthy and not any more setbacks. That's all I'd be hoping for. Maybe she can get 2 or 3 matches in. But
same. But she's playing. She's great on grass, and if she has a run of health, she's someone I could see winning a slam one day.
I could, to be honest, too. Like I could see her. I could see it, but she just has to stay healthy. I hope the window hasn't closed for her. I really do. As a fan of hers, I really hope. Because it wasn't just Roland Garros that last year, right? Like she did sustain it all the way to the US Open, and then she just hasn't played since. So I hope so. I mean,
it would be great. It would be great to see. Yeah, it would be great to see that like Mukova back and playing well, and her game is just so great to watch. And yeah, I think we're both in agreement here that she's box office for the WTA. And yeah, I'm going to be keeping an eye on how she's doing, even if I can't watch the actual match. I'll be checking the score. And
for me, she's like the closest player we've had to Ash Barty. Like there's so many Ash qualities in her that just remind me so much of Barty. And like we're probably not going to get Barty back, but if we can get Mahova healthy and
next best thing,
then it's the next best thing for sure.
Maybe she can make it even better thing.
Maybe. I mean, she beat Ash in the 2021 Australian Open in the quarters. But I would love to see her play all the top players again.
Oh yeah,
I know she can definitely hold her own against all of them.
She's throwing the side of everyone in the top 4. Like get Mukova back in the top 10. Like that's going to help make things interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, but yeah, this Eastbourne draw, now that I look at it, is even more exciting for sure than the Van Omburg. They're both pretty good tournaments, though.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be one where we're like kind of split, looking over where everyone's going to be. So where everyone's going to be, but yeah, I think Eastbourne will probably get a little bit more attention just because some of the names involved. But this is a really good opportunity for everyone ahead of Wimbledon. Okay, thanks much for coming on. I'm going to let you rest up because you're going to be on ATP Weekly in about an hour and a half.
That's right. I'm doing double duty today, so
you're going to be doing you're going to be talking all about the results from Halle and Queens. So do tune in for that. Those of you who are interested, if you want to hear about what Vant has to say about the ATP side of things as well, then go check that out in an hour and a half, or watch or listen back. I know we had a few people joining us during the live broadcast. So if you did join halfway through, just go back and watch from the start. We'd love to hear your thoughts on subject. Just get in the comments. Let us know what you think. Hit the like button and help people find this podcast. Same thing if you're listening on Apple, Spotify, Amazon. Give us a rating. please. That would be great. We're trying to make this channel even bigger and better, and so that we can get into bigger and better tournaments. Although, having said that, getting into Bad Homburg and Mallorca actually on the ATP side this week is pretty cool. And we've had people in the ground in Halle and Berlin this week, which has been pretty fun. Yeah, so keep an eye out for more content coming from those tournaments, Bad Homburg and Mallorca. Maybe some live streams. We're definitely doing a Wimbledon preview show, several preview shows, because we'll be obviously we'll have the Wimbledon draw happening at 10 a.m. on Friday. Hopefully we can get a live stream out for that, and you'll get our live reaction to that. And then we'll do full breakdowns on ATP Weekly and on WTA Weekly on the eve of seeing the oldest tournament in the world in tennis, Wimbledon. Thanks everyone for coming by. Thanks Vansh for joining, and I will see you soon. But until then, take care and keep talking tennis.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.
Ready? Play.
My name is Clara Towson, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca George, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans, and I'm a friend of the show.
My name is Zainab Samaz, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paolini, and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one time.